How's it going, everyone? It's Johnny Beard here with another episode of Streamer Stories, but not just any episode. It is a Christmas special, and as always with these Christmas specials, I have to get someone very special in, and I'm absolutely honoured to be joined by MJ Gallagher. How you doing, sir? It's so good to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Johnny. I massively appreciate it. I'm, you know, it's fantastic to speak about video games at any time with anyone, but a fellow beard enthusiast makes it all the more special for me. So, yeah, let's do this.
Let's do this. Oh yeah, I again love the beard. It's so good to have some beard aficionados with us. So let's go, let's go. And just in time for Christmas as well, putting on our best beards and homage to Santa. So yeah.
Yeah, I think as time goes on, mine's is starting to go grayer and grayer, so I feel
Yes.
as if I'm taking on that Christmas spirit quite a
Oh
lot.
yeah. I call this the salt and pepper look. That's what I'm calling it at the
Yeah,
moment.
my kids call me Badger Face. It's not quite as endearing.
Oh no.
Could be worse. It could be Skunk, but yeah.
Kids are cruel. Well, MJ, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to talk, obviously, Christmas with you, but fundamentally, video games. It's going to be great to talk to you about, obviously, Final Fantasy VII. I cannot wait for that
Yeah,
particular bit, but we're going to have a broad conversation as well, aren't we? So, yeah, obviously, I know who you are, but for those who don't know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what type of
sure.
content you do?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm MJ Gallagher. I am an author from Glasgow in Scotland. My area of expertise has almost exclusively been the Final Fantasy series, particularly Final Fantasy VII. But in recent years, I've sort of branched out a little bit to focus on other games. I started primarily as a fan fiction author, so um, my kind of introduction to the online community was through fan fiction for Final Fantasy VII, but that developed into writing novels dedicated to Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VIII, in conjunction with KupoCon, which is a kind of Final Fantasy fan community
Yeah.
event, and that I have a history in working in the tourism industry, particularly with cruise ship locations. So my job was to visit an awful lot of locations, learn about them, write cultural tours, and from that I developed a real passion for history and mythology.
Wow, yeah.
And one of the really interesting things I found about it was that as I was learning, about the Americas or Asia or Australia, New Zealand, an awful lot of content that I was coming across were terms that I had encountered before within
Right.
the Final Fantasy series.
Amazing.
And those two things together, my passion for mythology and history, as well as my love of Final Fantasy VII, is where my most recent area of writing has been, which is uh, more of a kind of academic approach,
Hmm.
kind of studying the influences that different types of mythology have had on the Final Fantasy games. Now, a lot of the early titles derived quite heavily from Dungeons and Dragons, but as time has gone on, it has actually implemented a huge amount of real world lore and some sort of religious aspects as well. So my first book in that sort of field came out in 2020. That was Norse myths that inspired Final Fantasy VII. That was followed up a couple of years later with Greek myths that inspired Final Fantasy VII. I am literally, days away from finishing my latest book, which is called Mythos, Final Fantasy 16. And I'll have a little shameless plug
Go
right
for it.
there. There we
Amazing.
go. That's not even released yet. Um, and following that, I am moving on to Final Fantasy Tactics
Right. Yeah.
because it's a complete change of pace, complete change of direction. And I would just like to sort of tackle some of the Zodiac and Templar stuff and things like that. So most of what I'm known for is the writing, but I have done sort of a little bit of guest spots on streams. I've done a video series about the kind of hidden details or Easter eggs within the Final Fantasy VII remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth
Mm,
games. That was in conjunction with KupoCon as well, and just various other bits and pieces along the way.
incredible. My goodness me. Like, obviously, I know you're not a streamer, but like, one of my favorite things to do on this podcast is linking like the childhood to why someone became a streamer. But just hearing that passion and that story just alone of like the cruise ships and stuff like that, and how it became the combination of the two. Oh yeah, that's it. That rings so true to your passions becoming your job and hobby all together, isn't it? It's wonderful.
Absolutely, and it's a kind of testament to you never really know what direction your life's going to take.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I never expected to be here, but this is what I love doing, and I'm so grateful that other people are interested.
Oh, it's incredible, and yeah, I'm ashamed to say I've still not been to a KupoCon. I hate that, but like over the years, it's always been like I need to go. Oh, it just hasn't quite worked out, and I need to go. And then and again, you've been a massive part of that, and I've been following the Final Fantasy novelization page for goodness me, probably 8 to 10 years, I'd say now. So I've
Yeah,
been
well,
familiar with your work for a long time, and it's an honor to
thank you.
have you. So but that's all now, isn't it? So or recent to now. So we're gonna go all the way back, if you don't mind. We're gonna go all the way back.
Of course, wait, yeah.
So yeah, what are your first like memories of like not maybe not playing it, but seeing a video game? What was your first memories? Do you think?
My first memory is the old 2D platformers. Um, I remember vividly being around 4 or 5 and watching my cousin play Sonic the Hedgehog
Nice.
on. I'm pretty sure it was the first Mega Drive. I don't think it was the Master System, but I'm pretty sure it was the Mega Drive. And I also vividly remember visiting a friend's house and him having Zool. Do you remember Zool? It
Yes.
was on
Yeah.
the Amiga. So those are my two earliest memories of gaming. Both kind of in the similar vein, the not side scrolling, but the kind of 2D platformer.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, I sort of developed, particularly after visiting my cousin, I developed a real love for Sonic the Hedgehog that never really went away.
Nice, nice. You can't. Yeah, I'm the same. I still love Sonic now as much as I did when I was a kid. So nice. So Sonic. So you say it was Sonic 2? Did you say it was? Or
Well, Sonic 2 was my first game, actually.
yeah.
So the first one that I saw was the original Sonic the Hedgehog on
Right.
the Mega Drive, but I eventually convinced my parents a few years later to get a Mega Drive 2.
Right.
And that was the kind of game that came with it, the Sonic and Tails on the front of the big box for excuse me, the Mega Drive. So that was the first game I ever owned was Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and that retains a very special place in my heart.
Oh, you can't beat it, can you? It's such a great game as well. And like, did you how did you find it? Like, some people talk about like Sonic being quite hard to play for first playthrough. How did you find it?
Um, I always found it okay. Like I remember getting to, or when I was really young, I struggled with the chemical plant zone. I think
Yeah.
is the second area.
Yeah.
So in the second act of that, the poison or the oil or something starts to rise up,
Yeah.
or the toxins. And I couldn't work out that if you stand beside an air bubble, you can
Yeah.
regenerate Sonic's hair. So I used to play it and not be able. I would just die over and over and over at that particular part. And then when I realised that you could Sonic could take the air bubble, that was it. I was off and running, and I think I was only 7 or 8 at the time, so it did take me a while to finish the game, but I did eventually finish the game.
It's the one cruel thing about Sonic 2, isn't it? Like, if you're playing Sonic 2 first, like, they don't really have bubbles much in the game. Whereas people talk about the dreadful labyrinth zone in Sonic 1, but, like,
Oh God,
but
yeah,
at least they introduced the mechanic quite nicely. You know, you can see the air bubble,
yeah.
you can jump it. Come here, chemical pattern. Nope, there you go. Off you go. Good luck. It's
Oh God,
mean.
yeah. I think you've just triggered a bit of PTSD with the labyrinth
Oh, sorry.
there. Yeah, that the one. I think it's Act Three where you have to jump up. There's the bit that you're going up and up and up and up and up the whole time as
The
you're
boss
trying to
fight.
get away from the water.
Yeah.
Oh
Awful.
God.
So,
Yeah.
sorry. Hopefully you don't need a minute, but
Yeah, I think yeah, just
sorry.
let me compose myself. Yeah.
We've lost, I guess, the record time. So Mega Drive, lovely. So, did you stick with like Sega? Did you move into a different direction? Obviously, we know that PlayStation probably come into it at some point, but when?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the Mega Drive is the only Sega console I ever owned. I never had a Game Gear, didn't have a Dreamcast, definitely didn't have a Genesis.
Hmm.
I think, I'm pretty sure as soon as PlayStation came along, the 3D element of it, like I owned a Nintendo 64 as well,
Okay.
which, particularly as a kind of young kid, you know, playing the Mario Kart 64, playing GoldenEye, playing Mario 64, Ocarina of Time was a real kind of eye opener for what games could be because I've never played a kind of action game quite like that before. But I always had a preference for PlayStation because it was just smoother.
Hmm. Yeah.
I was never a big fan of the Nintendo 64 control pads in particular.
Yeah.
And I always found the PlayStation just a smoother experience. Um, and I think Nintendo 64 was the last Nintendo console that I owned up until the Switch came out.
Right. Yeah.
So I kind of bypassed quite a few of the Nintendo consoles, and we ended up with a Switch actually because I was very fortunate to be given one as a gift by Alex Main, who is the lead organizer of KuppelCon.
Wow. Nice.
One of my kids has health issues and had been in hospital recently, and just as a kind of thanks for being here, you know, uh, we want to support you. Here's a Switch that your kids can play. So that was extraordinarily generous of him. But that's kind of sent them off on their gaming adventure. So
Amazing.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, for me personally, to go back to your actual question, once the original PlayStation came out, I never really looked back. I've been a PlayStation guy ever since.
Okay. And then when did Final Fantasy come into it? Was it 7 initially? Or, you can say, oh no, I went backwards, you went 987 or something like that.
No,
No.
no.
Yeah.
I had never even heard of Final Fantasy up until 7 was released.
Yeah.
And I actually had a shot of it within a few days of its original release.
Okay.
Weirdly enough, but it was kind of in passing. Didn't I got to the Scorpion boss and lost the fight. I never really thought about it again after that for quite a few months. But one of my best friends was like a real, not quite RPG fan, but for what I considered, typical standard games, your Crash Bandicoots, your Gran Turismo, your Tekkens, your kind
Yeah.
of the games that everybody had sort of thing. He was one of these guys that would try games that were a little bit out there.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of bracket that Final Fantasy VII was in for me at the time. And I vividly remember just going round to his house and watching him play and just thinking this is like the best thing I've ever seen in my life. And soon after that, got my own copy, and the rest is history. So
Amazing.
I played seven, loved it, and from then on, we just kind of kept track of what Final Fantasy was doing.
Incredible. Goodness me. Okay, before we delve properly into that, then let's talk about some of your other favorite PlayStation titles. Then, other than the Final Fantasy series, what comes to mind?
So I was actually having a discussion with my son about this the other day, where even when I think about what are the best games that I ever played, or what are the best games, or what would I consider my favorite games, I still go back to the PlayStation era, the
Yeah.
original PlayStation era. Resident Evil 2 is probably just behind Final Fantasy VII. I was a huge Metal Gear Solid fan.
Mm.
Not so much Sons of Liberty. Only played through that once, but the the MGS that was on the original PlayStation, that you must have played that 50 times or something. You know?
It's fascinating to me though because I've spoken to quite a few people on this podcast, and there seems to be just like almost. It didn't feel like at the time, right, in the 90s, but I feel like now, looking back in like the 2020s, almost like a trifecta almost of like Final Fantasy fans, Resident Evil fans, and Metal Gear Solid fans. There's almost seems to be like almost like a two of the three kind of
Yeah,
dynamic. I've noticed,
absolutely. Yeah,
it's fascinating.
I definitely think Gran Turismo was in there as well. Or Gran Turismo 2. Um, those were the games that I spent more time than any other playing, and you know I liked Tomb Raider, but I was never a massive Tomb Raider fan.
Yeah.
Tomb Raider 2, I always remember really enjoying the first couple of levels, but I think once you kind of get out of Venice, I lost interest a bit. But you're right, like there's so many like proper classics.
Oh God, we were
Like
spoiled.
some of the best games ever made were on that. In fact, I would personally argue that I think the original PlayStation is probably the best generation of games there's ever been.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. I don't know what it was. I feel like an accumulation of the 2D to 3D switch, and then the Sony being so liberal, should we say, and letting anything and everything on the console, because there was like what 4,000 games I think released, which is
Yeah,
again astronomical. And just people just again just experimenting with the console, doing their thing, and just seeing what comes out of it. It was an amazingly experimental time that
yeah,
resulted in so many gems.
yeah. Abe's Exodus. So I liked Abe's Odyssey, but Abe's Exodus, the sequel, that was another real favourite of mine as well. Just because of how much it expanded on the original. But yeah, and that's kind of the beauty of it, that all the games that I've just mentioned are so different
Yeah,
as well. There was not. I wouldn't. And back in those days, I would never have said that I was a fan of any particular one type of genre. I just loved different games.
yeah. It's oh, I love that console so much. I really do. It is my favorite console of all time. Um,
Yeah.
okay, I love that you mentioned Guard Scorpion in Fantasy VII. Oh, what an annoying and amazingly terrible translation that was, right?
Yeah.
That translation's got so many people angry at him, I think, over the years.
Well,
So,
it's the power of words.
yes. Attack whilst the guard's tail's up, please. Okay, sure. Nightmare. Absolute nightmare. You mentioned obviously you went to a friend's house to see Final Fantasy VII properly again, obviously after the guard Scorpion situation. So, how much of Final Fantasy VII did you watch him play, or did you kind of have a moment of like, I'm going to pause and I'm going to play this actually at home? Like, what was your Final Fantasy VII relationship like, and how much was involved with the friend or solo?
With him, I vividly remember actually playing up to the Genova boss fight on the cargo ship,
Right.
because
Yeah.
he really struggled to defeat that. And round about the time he had arrived at the Junon scenario, that's when I got my own copy. And I remember actually, uh, I I beat I beat Genova before he did. I
Right.
think I definitely beat the game before he did, but I think I beat Genova. because I've got this memory of him having to go back and
Right.
start again. Um, so when we kind of did it together, it was that sort of first portion of the game. Um, but I th- I think that we did it separately after that, and then just sort of compared notes
Right. Yeah.
as we went. So it became much more of a me thing from Costa del Sol onwards. That was my experience. Thinking about um, all the sort of big moments in the game. The kind of genre defining events that take place.
Mm.
I experienced those personally rather than sort of with a friend.
Right. I you just unlocked something for me there, which is this idea of starting again, like on an RPG. Again, that's like, people don't think about that nowadays. You would grind, but playing your first RPG, especially in the '90s, that's what you would do. You'd kind of, because you're doing pretty much any other genre of game, like a beat 'em up or a fighting game or a racing game. Like, all right, okay, game over, start again. Whereas,
Yeah,
so I probably did that with Final Fantasy games. Now that I think about it, oh man, I'm stuck on this boss. You know what? I'm just going to start the game again and just. Whereas nowadays, it's like, well, just grind. So it's
yeah.
a fascinating thing to think about. So let's talk a bit about Christmas then. So,
Okay.
how much Christmas how much did Christmas play into like you like getting presents and experiencing it as like a time to play new games and stuff like that? How much was that, I think, for you?
Um, Weirdly enough, I remember that being mainly around the PlayStation 2 era. I
Hmm.
remember getting games for my PlayStation 2 at Christmas time and being very excited about it. Um, n Not so much prior to that, weirdly enough.
Hmm.
Although now that you've mentioned it, I'm pretty sure that the original PlayStation we got was for Christmas.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
So was it like a family present? Do you think it was?
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of coincided with I when we got the Mega Drive. My mum and dad, have never really been very big on video games. It was more along the lines of let's give them something that's new and fun and they can learn from, or it's a different type of activity, but let's sort of keep a lid on it. So the way of keeping a lid on it was that the Mega Drive lived in my grandmother's house, who kind of lived a few streets away. So we would maybe get to play it for a couple of hours after school, or if we were lucky, an afternoon or at the weekend or something like that. So never something that was a big part of our sort of home life, as it were.
Hmm.
But as I was getting to, I want to say maybe 11-ish, I kind of made a real point to my parents of, okay, maybe now's a time that I can get a TV in my room.
Yeah.
The way that kind of nowadays it's almost, it's odd to not have a TV in your room,
Yeah.
but back then it was like, if you had a TV upstairs, that was really exciting, or if you had Sky in
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
second room, that was top tier stuff. You were rolling in the big bucks if that was the case. So it was. I'm pretty sure when we got the PlayStation, it was to coincide with them getting a TV for me for my bedroom.
Right. Yeah.
So the TV wasn't mine. The TV was sorry, the PlayStation wasn't for me. The PlayStation was more for the family. So like, I've quite a few sisters, so my dad picked up games that they would want to play. Your kind of Spyro the Dragons, and they were quite fond of the Sims games as well.
Yeah.
But other than a handful of PlayStation 2 games, oddly enough, I don't tend to associate. gaming with Christmas
Hmm.
from my childhood, but I do with my kids.
Yeah.
Now, that's we've kind of made a point of every year since we got the Switch back in 2019. At least one person has got a game either for the Switch or for the PlayStation.
Hmm.
Just as I wouldn't even say it's a tradition. It's just a habit.
Yeah.
But that's kind of something that I'd like to continue because my my view on video games and how beneficial video games can be to young kids who are learning to read or young kids who are improving hand-eye coordination or kids um, looking at problem solving.
Yeah.
There's so many games out there that are so expertly designed to actually it's not just fun to play, but you're kind of learning along as you go. So I'm a real champion of kind of let kids learn as they're
Yeah.
playing in a way that I didn't get to experience when I was younger. Um, and I hope that that remains moving forward. That it can be a thing that when the kids grow up, they'll look back and remember these times fondly.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I again, I love I love the idea again that maybe your parents were almost like um putting it in Nan's house type of thing was like it's almost like an element of control, isn't it? You can't be like hooked on it. But like,
Yeah.
did your parents like my parents did like did your parents like think this? Oh, it's just going to be a phase. Like my parents were like that. They were like, "Oh, you won't be playing video games in his 30s, definitely." So, what were your parents like?
Well, yeah, they probably definitely didn't think it was still would still be doing it in my 30s. I My mum, I guess, probably thought it was like just something for kids.
Yeah,
My dad ended up taking a bit more of an interest in it. He was never a gamer, I remember him picking up a Mac for himself that just happened to be powerful enough to run pretty decent games. And my dad's always been a fan of, kind of medieval fantasy.
right,
And for whatever reason, Diablo caught his eye,
amazing.
and he decided to give Diablo a try. So I'm pretty sure he played Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 on his Mac, and another couple of strategy games, which I couldn't even tell you what they were called, to be honest. But that was kind of his only real foray into gaming. But he never kind of gave me the impression that as much as it was, as you say, the control of we don't want you playing it too much, or he would actively go and buy like FIFA games
Right, yeah,
so that we could maybe play together.
yeah,
Or that was the intention. I don't have very actually playing, um, but it was Final Fantasy VII, believe it or not, that I think things started to change in his mentality of because he's an avid reader and has you know always been he's read Lord of the Rings every year since 12, or he was a George Martin fan 20 years before the TV
yeah,
series came out and things like that. So um when I started kind of showing that same level of passion for a story or a fantasy story, obviously Final Fantasy VII is not quite medieval fantasy, but the same idea, that when you kind of start to get into the fantastical realms and the epicness of it, that's what he could resonate with.
yeah,
And at that point, I think he started taking it a bit more seriously. But even then, I don't think there was ever a moment where he thought, yeah, in 20 years' time, he's still
yeah.
going to be playing, kind of thing. But, you know,
Here we are.
we are where we are.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fascinating. I love that. Like it's like you mentioned, like getting a telly in your room. Like it's almost like the family PC. Oh yeah, that's there's those little 90s tidbits of information that again, I hate to sound like that old man who shouts at cloud, but kids today just don't understand what that's like.
Yeah, got off the internet. I want to use the phone.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was a time. It was such a time. What a vibe. Okay, so how much? Just generally speaking, and obviously, I know it's a separate thing to talk about Final Fantasy. It's about talking about video games in general. But like, how much time do you play games? How much time do you have for that? Yeah, how much time do you actually tend like chilling to play games versus doing almost stuff for work? I suppose.
I certainly don't game anywhere near as much as I would like to. Because I actually I have four kids and I kind of work for the British government, so my writing time is not as uh, you know readily available, shall we say,
Yeah.
as I would like it to be. My kind of my aim is to be able to have writing as my main career.
Yeah.
Um, working towards that, but for now, because I'm not able to do that, it means that so much of the time that I carve out for myself is dedicated to the writing, which then directly impacts on how much time I have to game.
Yeah.
But fortunately enough, because I write about games, there is a bit of crossover there.
Yes.
So nowadays I do almost exclusively, like, and for kind of times where I'm playing myself, I almost exclusively play Final Fantasy. I picked up the Pixel remasters last year, so I've sort of played 1, 2, and 3 through that. Final Fantasy 16, obviously. I picked up Final Fantasy Tactics, Thieveless Chronicles as well, which just it's an absolutely astonishing game. The only one that I've bought for myself that is not a Final Fantasy game is actually Expedition 33,
Oh yes.
um, which I really enjoyed, and hope that it does extraordinarily well at the Game Awards.
Yeah.
It kind of deserves all the love that it gets. Um, I don't get to kind of pick up the only one that I've kind of dabbled in, because it was on the PlayStation Plus, is God of War, because I know that that's right up my alley in terms of
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
area of interest. But uh, I find I find it because I struggle so much for time that I don't actively seek these out, because I know that I love these. I love playing it and would want to go and play it, and I don't have the time.
Yeah.
I can't afford the time to go and do that.
Yeah.
Same reason that I've never started Final Fantasy 14, that I know I would really,
Yeah.
really enjoy it. But
Yeah.
I've disciplined myself to never pick it up because I can't afford to lose that time.
I totally get you.
So yeah, like other than playing, kids playing FIFA with my older boy, or just getting involved in, my youngest has started playing like Sackboy or
Yeah.
Astrobot and things, so I encourage that, and I try and get involved when I can. But yeah, for me personally, gaming is almost exclusively Final Fantasy at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of Final Fantasy, then, like, can you talk to us a bit about Christmas and Final Fantasy? Like, is there any like links there? I can imagine. I mean, like, I'm not talking about like the Great Glacier in Final Fantasy VII. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
as much as that's like, oh yeah, snow, isn't it? But I still think it probably hits the note that hits it on the head enough, does it? So, how many links is there, or is there many links between Final Fantasy and Christmas?
Well, weirdly enough, there's not a huge amount of links between Final Fantasy and Christmas, but there are some little elements in there of um, where most Final Fantasy games will have like a snowy region or a village in the mountains or something like that. And quite often, what they'll do to really kind of emphasize that will be to kind of throw in Christmas themes. So you'll maybe see like Christmas trees with baubles or like a star on top, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it's not something that's to do with like the nativity, but like Christmas adjacent
Yeah.
sort of stuff. There's one, you'll get those sort of jingle bells type music uh, triggers as well in quite a lot of these places. There's a couple of examples, the earlier games where they talk about like getting presents for each other, or um, even from the early Final Fantasy games, in order to revive your characters, you had to go to a church,
Yes.
which had like a cross, and there
Yeah.
were times where they actually used Christian symbolism.
Hmm.
But there's one very specific uh, incident or scene that comes to mind, and this is really pretty obscure, right?
Okay.
Um, but for Final Fantasy VII, there's what's known as the compilation. So there's side content or like prequels and sequels
Yes.
to do with the story, some of which were never released outside of Japan. And one
Okay.
of these is a mobile phone game known as Before Crisis,
Right.
which is actually a phenomenal story, but it was really quite basic graphics wise. And again, it was released in, like 2004 and ran for maybe 6 or 7 years, and then the servers went down. But there is a particular chapter of that takes place on the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th of December.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And you play as one of the Turks characters, and you follow the Turk Rud around, the kind of the bald Turk.
Yeah.
And he actually goes to meet someone on the 25th of December, right beside this massive Christmas tree that has, the fairy lights and the star on top and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So, there's not, for the most part, Christianity and Christmas will kind of be in the kind of minds of Japanese culture, but it's not a big part of the culture.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's certainly not something that they celebrate. So to actually implement that in a game that's never going to be seen outside of Japan was quite unusual.
Yeah.
But so
Gosh.
there is a very specific kind of Christmas link there. Um, or obviously Christmas is a lot to do with the birth of Jesus, and there's quite Final Fantasy 16. The character Joshua has his name. The name Joshua actually is derived from the same Hebrew source
Mm.
as Jesus is.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a kind of crossover, and if you look at the artwork for the game, the characters walking on water, or his whole thing is that he is the phoenix, and the phoenix was used even by the popes as a sort of symbol for Christ,
Mm.
stuff like that. So the game's imagery and uh, how the story progresses, and even the kind of nation that he comes from, is jam packed full of references to Jesus's life and death, and I mean it's very deliberate. We're not we can't
Mm.
really get away from that. But in terms of a direct reference to Christmas, uh, that's not really present in Final Fantasy 16.
No.
But they don't, the games don't shy away from it, particularly when you get events in Final Fantasy 14, for example.
Yeah.
There's in-game Christmas events. Same with like the mobile games that have particular events, just so they can dress Cloud and Tifa and Aerith up
Yeah.
Christmas hats and sexy skirts and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
So it is there. It does exist, but you kind of have to look for it.
yeah. I wasn't expecting what the potential of Rude meeting a certain jolly bearded fellow to be part of potential Final Fantasy lore.
There you go. Yeah,
That's an
yeah.
amazing story, and just owning Japan as well. Goodness me, no, I had no idea. Wow, I love that. But no, that's amazing. Wow. Okay, so when it comes to like Final Fantasy, then, so like if you were to I'd imagine obviously naturally Final Fantasy VII is at the top of the Christmas tree, so to speak. But like, where would the others fall for you? What are some of your favourite titles in the series?
Um, Up until Final Fantasy 16 was released, my my favourites were actually sort of in order that I played them. So 7, 8, and 9 were my top three.
Right. Yeah.
Followed by 10, and I've kind of got a weird relationship with 10 because I played it when I was going, some angsty teenage years. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of the what I didn't like about it at the time was actually more to do with what I was experiencing rather than the game itself. So
Mm.
I've always, had it in the back of my head to go back with a more, objective view of it. Um, I I really enjoyed the earlier games, but I didn't get to play them until the Pixel remasters came out.
Right.
And Final Fantasy 16, as much as it's very different to a lot of the other games in terms of the gameplay style, it's pretty much everything that I personally like in a Final Fantasy game.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
the story, the characters, the particularly the mythology and
Hmm.
stuff implement, and these are the things, and I recognise that it's a little bit niche, or the lens that I view it through is perhaps not as common as others, but it was just about as perfect a game as I could have hoped from that angle. Obviously, it's there are elements of it that I understand people don't like, and that's fair. But I just thought it was fantastic. So, Final Fantasy 16 currently holds second spot
Wow.
for me,
Yeah.
with Final Fantasy 8 following not too far behind because that also impacted on me as a kid. Particularly the romance between Squall and Renoa.
Yeah.
Um, that I love that particular story,
It's a great
fate
story.
and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, what about yourself?
Oh,
Are you big on the
I'm a nine guy.
nine guy?
I love nine, 7. And then third place always gets a bit oof, like it's a bit of 10, it's a bit of 6, sometimes 8. Yeah, I do love those. I've not played 16 yet. That's going to be 26, 20,
Oh, really? Right,
26.
okay.
So looking forward to that. Yeah, based on what you've been saying. Like I've heard the story is very, very good. So I'm looking forward to that
Yeah,
from that angle. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, I love 9. 7 was my first, and then 8, then 9. But I just don't know. I just loved sitting on 9. But it's fascinating what you're saying about Final Fantasy 10, like in terms of you may be having some difficult times, in life, so to speak. Like that's what I had with Final Fantasy 7. Like I was getting bullied a lot in
right,
school,
okay.
and like it was my safe space. That's what I love about 7
Yeah,
for me. It's holds that really lovely, soft, warm spot in my soul because it was my escapism. And I love that about video games. And I love that about about the Final Fantasy series. It is just a lovely escape place to be in, isn't it? So yeah, I can somewhat
yeah,
relate to what you're saying.
absolutely. And I think one of the things that I'm excited about to go back to Final Fantasy X is that as an adult, particularly now that I've sort of travelled the world and have an interest in mythology and religion and philosophy and stuff like that, I think I would get so much more out of it
Hmm.
from the sort of Eastern aesthetic. And I lived in New Zealand for quite a while, so I've kind of got a base knowledge of the sort of Polynesian myths,
Mm.
the Maori brought with them, and there's quite a lot of Polynesian stuff in Final Fantasy X as well. I
Mm.
think, I think if I went back with what I know now and the experiences I have now, I would enjoy it so much more. So,
Yeah.
it's not too far away. Once I find the time
Yes.
when I'm not
Yes.
writing, I'll eventually go back to it. But
Oh, I bet. Oh, I can't wait. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. So I've got a question for you, MJ, from a previous guest of the podcast. Obviously, they didn't know it was
okay.
going to be landing on your lap, but here we go. This is a question for you. It is: what game made you the most angry or most annoyed?
Oh wow.
It's an interesting one to sit
I
on, that,
would.
isn't it?
It is, yeah. I would probably have to go with a platformer.
Fair. We mentioned Sonic One
Um,
Labyrinth so not long ago.
yeah, so Labyrinth would have been up there.
Sorry
Yeah,
to PTSD you a second time today, but
yeah. Do you know? Do you know what? Do you ever remember Cool Spot?
yes.
So it was like the little red disc with the sunglasses,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
I have very, very vivid memories of playing that with my sisters and doing that kind of, you know, you get to play until you die, and then the next person gets a shot,
Yeah.
and then when they die, the next person gets. I have very vivid memories of doing that and getting really frustrated because I couldn't. And Aladdin as well, Aladdin Mega
Oh,
Drive. I used to get
yeah,
really frustrated at that.
yeah.
Um,
Fair.
so you're unlocking all sorts of trauma at the minute.
I'm so sorry.
Um, I There's also one that I can think of that is maybe the most angry I've been at a game,
Okay.
which is I did remember back in, I assume they still do it in Gran Turismo, but in Gran Turismo 2, I think they did the Le Mans, sorry, race, the 24-hour
Yeah.
effort,
Hmm.
and the reward for it was uh, usually it was kind of one of four cars. Three of them were a Formula One car, and one of them was like just, I don't know, an Impreza or something. And I remember doing this race, trying to get all the Formula One 20, and didn't get the. I had a 75% chance of getting a
Oh no.
it.
Yeah.
I remember being just so angry, so deflated. That's probably the worst I've ever felt
Oh man.
at a video game. That's also something I've not thought about for 25 years. So thanks for that.
I'm not your friend anymore. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry.
That's,
You were so looking forward to
I'm,
being
I'm,
here, and now you just want to go.
I'm just going to march upstairs and shave my beard off. Just
No, please. That'd be the worst. But yeah, I played Aladdin for the first time. I never played it as a kid. I played it on stream actually about 2 years ago,
oh really?
and
Okay.
I had to use save states because there's that like escaping from the volcano section. Oh my
Yeah.
god, it was awful, awful.
Yeah.
I don't know how people did it without save states. Like I struggled with save states. It was a terrible time. So I can feel you there. And I didn't play much Gran Turismo 2, so I can't quite relate with the Le Mans 24 hours, but I can relate somewhat with Gran Turismo 1. Like I remember doing the having to unlock the licenses and having to do the little tests and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That was like, oh my god, we should be like 0.02 seconds off, and you can't
Oh
get the
yeah.
ranking.
Or when you had to brake within the particular range
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that sort of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about good memories, but memories.
Yeah. Character building.
Yes,
I
that's
think
what it
that's what
is.
that was.
Paving the way, using Cloud Obscure for those who come after. There we go. So let's talk about your wonderful books then. Like again, and let's talk about your Facebook page as well alongside that, because I know you've had that for a long time. Like, am I right in saying that was probably the first, like, dare I say, social media platform you had?
From a social media perspective, yes, it was. I I got involved in the online community through forums, actually, particularly what was now the live stream net, but back in the day it was Advent Children.
Right. Yeah.
So this was actually before Advent Children was even. And I'd sort of been writing my final novelization, just very very early rough stuff. But I didn't really have anyone in my personal life who either played Final Fantasy or was interested in reading it or anything like that. So the outlet for putting that in front of people who might be interested in reading it was these forums.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And even at that point, I'd never even heard of fiction before. So that's really where I started to sort of build a friend group or a little network or an audience. And once Facebook launched and some of the features that were available with Facebook, it was really at that point that I thought, I'm going to kind of use this to my advantage and just see where it goes. And it kind of did pretty well, and I met some pretty amazing people as a result of that. And as nowadays, I wouldn't use social media as much if it wasn't to promote the books. Just because I've kind of learned the hard way that sometimes it affects your mental health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm more active on Twitter than I am on Facebook nowadays. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was for the longest time. Facebook was almost exclusively where I sort of promoted myself.
It's fascinating to me, isn't it? I'm the same. Like, I don't use Facebook much nowadays either. But and as much, we won't go political, but like the political spectrum of Twitter is not the best, should we say? But equally, it's a fantastic platform for video gaming, for streaming, for content creators, for people who make wonderful mediums of art like yourself, obviously with the novelizations. So I don't know what it is, but I can't get off it, and yet Facebook has just I don't know what's happened to it, but yeah.
It's sad, but you're absolutely right that it's so useful that it would it's useful to the point of you would be shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah.
As a content creator trying to build an audience,
Totally.
to not use it.
No, exactly that. Exactly. It's a massive part of what we do, isn't it? So in terms of like online presence, what do you have like planned for the future then? So you have like obviously this new book coming out, which is wonderful. I can't wait to see that come on the shelves. But have you got any other plans for the future?
I do have quite a few things. What I was doing last year was sort of jumping between writing the book and working on the video series for KupoCon. But as time goes on, as I said, I'm so kind of tight for time that I have to be very particular about what it is that I work on. And I've announced already that I will be working on a Final Fantasy Tactics book, which once Mythos has been released to the Kickstarter backers who kind of supported the crowdfund for that last year, and following that, I'll kind of start work on the Final Fantasy Tactics project. So the ball's rolling on that a little bit. The kind of basic structure of the book's in place and is made and all that sort of stuff. That won't become public until a bit further down the line. Um, I think just because of how successful the 16 book was, this is the first volume because there's far too much content to put it all in one. So I'm
Right. Yeah.
with a theme for this one. So the theme is death and rebirth. So it looks at cycles and it helps enhance the experience for the player. I hope. Um, but I think a volume two is probably going to be one of the next things that I work on as well.
Right.
And following that, when I did my Final Fantasy VII book about Greek mythology, originally it was going to contain content from the Trojan War. But there's actually so much content regarding the Trojan War that I had to cut that out, and that will be released as a separate book.
Wow. Goodness me.
So a lot of that will be to do with Crisis Core,
Right.
the kind of spin off where Zach Fair is the lead character. And after that, who knows? I've been lucky enough that I still get to attend Cooper, get to go and do book signings, in other places. So I tend just to go with the flow,
Yeah.
see where it takes me, and if there's something that comes up that I would like to do and that it'll help others, then yes, absolutely, let's do it. But I kind of have to be clever with making sure that I'm not biting off. I can. That's really
Yeah.
been my Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Pardon the Trojan War reference, but um, yeah, that's kind of it. Just head down, working as much as I can, like bringing as much love to the Final Fantasy, and just see where it takes me.
Amazing. It's incredible. Like it really is fascinating to me because like it's got to be. I can see it like biting more than what you can chew in terms of like there's so much stuff clearly that is out there that in the games that I almost probably feels like you always wish you had two of you to work on it, because you've
Yeah,
got this very almost this very specialist like knowledge and field and talent, to do this, but
thank you.
there's not enough out there. There's too much sorry. There's not. There's only one
Yeah.
person doing it, and there's too much to get through too quickly. So I can imagine that'd be quite difficult to balance that, I suppose.
Well, that's it. Even with all the Final Fantasy content that exists, I could easily write books for the next 20 years and
Yeah,
not run out. You're right that there's just a crazy amount of information available, but so I just kind of have to pick and choose.
yeah,
But it's I've been so lucky that you know I've kind of worked hard and tried to do the right things, and I've had some amazing opportunities. You know, been invited to Toronto to do book signings, or um, getting to meet Hamaguchi-san a few weeks ago at Square Enix offices. Like, just it kind of makes you feel appreciated, and that's I would have just done this for fun because it's my passion, but to have other people um, uh, just be interested and sort of particularly with the Kickstarter stuff, like to actually back it financially, that's a huge deal,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So yeah, I'm eternally grateful.
Oh man, that's so good. That's so good. I've got a couple of questions for you, MJ, and then would you believe the hour's gone so quickly? But
My goodness, yeah.
the first question is, do you have any favorite video game collectibles? Is there anything that comes to mind when it comes to maybe things you picked up or you've salvaged since the early days? Like, yeah, what comes to mind?
The thing that my favourite one by a mile is actually the little wooden fixtures fit characters that are made by Square Enix. So I have a cloud um, little wooden model that's the kind of not pixel. What would you call it? Basically, the character models that have been 3D printed.
Right.
a friend of mine, Stephen, gave it to me as a gift, and it lives on the windowsill in my kitchen, so I can see it every day, and
Oh, yes.
stupidly it just brings me a lot of warmth and joy just seeing it there.
Amazing. Oh, I love that. That's so good. Hell yeah. All right, and then just a final question, as it's Christmas themed, what were your plans this Christmas? You kind of probably touched upon it a little bit with your family, but yeah, talk us about your Christmas plans, and then do you want to give a message to your wonderful community out there as well, to say some words maybe to them?
Yeah, sure. I'm hoping for a pretty chilled Christmas actually.
Fingers crossed.
It's fingers crossed. Yeah, it's we've I've been working extremely hard with, but just various bits and pieces in my personal life have kind of been pretty challenging of late. So hopefully, there's no crisis
Yes.
over Christmas. So it's really just a case of spending time with family. We have, I have young kids and my sisters have young kids. Um, and I kind of grew up in a household that was the focus at Christmas. It was always, the adults get joy by making joy for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm uh, my fiance is extraordinarily good at that. So I kind of take her lead, just making that a big deal. So
Yeah.
that's my aim. Maybe sneak a couple of drinks in there. We'll
Yes.
see. Um, and in terms of my community, I just first of all just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas or Happy for those that kind of observe it. I can't say anything more than thank you. And I see how much support that you give to me and your enthusiasm, just the mad stuff that I do. And I appreciate it so much. It keeps me going. Please, more of the same for 2026.
Yes. Incredible. Oh, MJ, that was wonderful. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. It's lovely to hear and see like the passion, obviously, for Final Fantasy, for mythology, for writing the wonderful novels that you do, for your family as well. Again, there's so much to talk about your love for your family. You're obviously a wonderful, wonderful father and person, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, just thank you, thank you for doing what you do.
That's so kind of you to say, and it definitely makes up for the trauma. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
but
almost. Still not forgiven.
but it's been a real pleasure being here, and thank you again for having me. If it is of use to you, please don't hesitate. It's always lovely to chat.
Definitely, absolutely, no, same, and likewise, for sure. One more time, MJ, do you want to tell us where you can find you on social media? Where can we find your platforms?
Sure, yeah. I'm most active on Twitter, so at FFVII novels. Um, I do have a Blue Sky account. It's more of a thing. Just get me at MJ Gallagher. On Facebook, the the unofficial novelization account that Johnny was talking about is just Final Fantasy VII unofficial novelization backdated works. And if anyone wants to actually check out the the books that I have for free or just additional content that I've made on Patreon that you can sign up to for stuff that you can just help yourself to. So that's just patreon.com/, MJ Gallagher. Or if the Final Fantasy VII videos, you can check out KupoCon's channel on YouTube, which has my Final Fantasy remake Easter egg series.
Amazing, amazing. I'm definitely gonna put a lot of those links in the description for you guys. So yeah, please check all that out. thank you again, MJ. That was wonderful. And thank you for watching / listening. Merry Christmas, and I'll probably see you all in 2026. Take care. Bye-bye.